Hey friends, it's Michele Lamoureux and welcome to Friday Focus. This is a new series that I'm doing where I'm taking the week's interview, which can run anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes, and I'm giving you the highlight of the interview. So the intention behind it is to showcase either my favorite part of the interview because it was inspirational or it had an actionable tip that you could put into effect right away and play with yourself, or it just had something really interesting that will leave you thinking. So I hope you enjoyed this week's Friday Focus. Here we go. Why is breathwork so healing? What is it doing? What is it all about?
Yeah. Well, I always say it rewires. I like that word because people understand what that means. Your brain, your emotional system, even your physical body, actually. And what I love so much is it does bring you that awareness that talk therapy and other modalities can't really necessarily bring you. And that is just a knowing. I call it a knowing. Like you touch on some sort of block or something that's in the way, or you get a download of a word and you get a knowing that, oh my goodness, wow, this is what's getting in the way. So there's almost an energetic connection that is not in our heads at all. The breath takes you into your heart, into your body, and you just are able to feel things on a totally new level, spiritual level, emotional level, energetic level.
Yeah.
And that's where the healing takes place, I think.
Yeah, because I was wondering, like, how is the physical body and like our actual physiology and then the emotions, like what is that connection and how are we tapping into it? Because I also, and I don't know if this is where the chakras come in, but I know you do work around that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, most of us live in our heads a lot of the time. That's where a lot of the craziness happens. But of course, our mind, our thoughts, it could be a really wonderful, helpful place too.
Yes.
For me, mostly not so helpful. But literally, I mean, on a physical level, bringing in more oxygen, oxygenating our cells, oxygenating our body, our muscles, our organs, physically helps to detox the body, helps to release, engages this vagus nerve and the parasympathetic nervous system. So it does help with stress. So whenever we're more relaxed, which is hard to do sometimes in just seated meditation, at least for me.
Yes.
It's difficult to get there sometimes.
Yes.
So what I love about breathwork, it's an active meditation that is good for many people, especially type A people who can kind of get out of your head into your body and into a really beautiful state of relaxation. And from that place, I think all things are possible. It's almost like a hypnotic state.
Yes. Yeah. So I did the 2 privates with you and then the 1 group actually, and then 1 on my own. When I signed up for the membership, I was telling you, I only got halfway through, only because I was just curious what it was. And then next thing I got sucked into it, but I didn't have the time to do it. But each and every time, as we get to the end of the session, I find that I go into some really Zen, like, I don't know, it's like I'm awake, but I'm not awake state. Yeah. And it's so deeply like everything's so quiet. And so it's almost like I've taken this awesome nap, but I'm not asleep. But it's interesting. It's happened at the end of every session.
It's so awesome.
Yeah, it's like I'm with you the whole time, but then like something about that last transition piece, I just go somewhere else and then I come back and I'm like, wow, I feel like I just went on like a 2-week vacation. Like it's just so like deeply relaxing. There's no way to describe it other than that.
It's restful, isn't it?
Deeply restful.
Yeah, it's not uncommon for people to fall asleep during a session. You're sort of in and out. Some people are in and out of consciousness, and that's actually fine. I also do hypnosis, and during hypnosis, some people are kind of almost in a sleep state, and that's just fine because you're still receiving. Yeah, the hypnotic induction, for example. But yeah, it's again, in ideal world, meditation can bring you there. to that very, it's very restful, very deep. But I just think it's difficult for us where we're also busy and connected to our phones. And, we need to literally do some active breathing to music, which helps take your mind off of things and on the journey. I always say, you probably remember the first 4 or 5 minutes is the hardest. It's a lot of work sometimes if you're tired.
Yeah.
And I always joke, people are like, I paid for this. What am I doing?
Right.
This is hard. It's not easy the first little bit, but I always say your body starts to breathe itself after a while.
Yeah. And you're just, you're coaching as we go, you're kind of keeping us going and reminding us to keep breathing or whatever.
Right.
The other thing that I found really interesting about it is that you don't know what's going to come up, especially in the private session, but even the one that I listened to on my own, it was one topic, let's say abundance or manifest something. And once I got into my body, something completely different wanted to be released. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to mention what happened in my private session with you. There was one where I was like, why is this coming up right now? It's something 20 years ago.
Yeah.
What is that about? What is it just locked in there? Obviously, it needs to be released. And if we're all carrying stuff, if I'm carrying something from 20 years ago, what's that about?
Oh, I mean, not uncommon. That's why I always have people do a series of sessions if they can with me, because you do peel back the layers each time. And it's so common to go back to childhood, for sure, to go back to, because, that's where a lot of our early traumas are formed.
Yeah.
That's a lot of,
but it doesn't even have to
issues.
be trauma. That was mine. Wasn't a trauma thing.
No, yours wasn't. I always say we don't always understand what shows up.
Yeah.
But it shows, I promise you 150%, it's always accurate. So if we can just go in and with your situation, acknowledge, I guess, is part of it.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some forgiveness work or something that needs to be done.
Yeah. There may have been some.
And then it's your body, your psyche, it's just telling you there's something there that needs to be cleared in order to take you to the next level. And we don't always understand it. We don't even need to understand it, actually.
Right.
Yeah. We do energy clearing. Next month is actually an energy release, and, have people connect with blocked energy in their body and put a color and a shape, and what's interesting is I've seen everything from orange triangles to brick walls to pink bubble gum. It doesn't actually matter what it looks like.
See. Yeah.
What is important is what it represents. And if we can get some permission to clear it once and for all from your system. So yeah, it's a fascinating journey, never a dull moment. And like you said, what we think will come up often doesn't.
Yeah, because your mind is getting out of the way with it, which is what's so powerful about it, I think. And does it automatically, when you do these sessions, balance out your chakras?
Yeah, I say that in my training and I say that in classes. I really believe it automatically opens and aligns your 7 main chakras. Yeah. How I know is because it's personal experience, first of all. I've done so much breathing on my own. And from the very first session, I remember feeling pulsating, throbbing, opening in certain chakras. I was like, what is going on here? And I've seen it with clients. It never, ever fails. That we all hold some sort of stress or stuck emotion. And usually it's in some of the energy points, the chakras. Most commonly, it's in the 4 middle ones, like our throat, which we could talk about today, the heart, the solar plexus, and the sacral. And it's often there because there's a lot of mass of physical body there as well. And that's often where we hold our stress. So yeah, but just by breathing, and why I love the 3-part breath that I teach is because it does open up those lower chakras with the belly breath. And then chest breath kind of opens and sends energy up to the upper chakras. So I would say, naturally opens and aligns and can uncork or unblock your energy points.
So cool. It's so, I just find it. And why are we sometimes crying? What, you're not even necessarily sad and the tears are coming out. It's maybe sad.
Well,
massaging of these organs too. I don't know, what's going on?
Yeah, it can be a series of things. I mean, I remember, again, personal experience when I first started, I just cried and cried and cried every session. Part of it was grief, sadness, disappointment, all of the hurt I was holding, depression. Yeah. But there was other times I would cry because I felt so much love and so much gratitude and appreciation. So I think Honestly, I like to say it just helps us remember who we really are. We forget. That makes me emotional just saying that, because we forget. And when we remember, it's enough to make you want to cry, because we're just balls of energy. We're not this physical being at all, even though we're so attached, right, to all the stories.
Stuff and the stories, yeah.
So that's emotional. It's freeing. People cry because they feel free. People cry because they feel angry. People cry because they feel sad. There's a lot.
I love that. And you said it's an invitation. It's an opportunity to remember who we are, which is, I believe sometimes tears, like you hear something and it just makes you cry. It's like you're hearing a truth. Your soul's like knowing and remembering. It's like, oh yeah, that just hits you. And so I don't know. I just think it's so healing, and it's so, I don't know. It's fun to see what's going to come up. And
I'm glad you said that, because I'm sure you can relate, Michele, and you've talked to so many people in your podcast. We're all our worst critics. And, people are always saying how amazing you are, right? How amazing I am. And sometimes it's not always easy to receive because of our programs.
Yes.
But when we lay down and breathe, you can actually connect to some of that self-love and self-appreciation. And again, that's enough to make you cry, because you start to experience what other people see in you.
Truth. Yeah, you're receiving. That's so beautiful.